Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps out, of course, getting the show out there. It's season 4 of the Midtown Madness Podcast. And once again, it's brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. Pete, we're heading into the summer months. We just passed Cinco de Mayo. There is no better companion to the backyard barbecue, the burgers, the hot dogs. Chips and dip are great, but I tell you what, chips and salsa takes the cake. And when I'm stocking up for that spring, that summer barbecue, that party, whatever it is, I'm bringing Two Men in a Garden. That's my contribution. Everybody knows what to expect. Even my buddy today, we went to the Battlehawks game and he goes, dude, do you guys still, is Two Men in the Garden still, you guys still work with them? I go, you're damn right we do. And he said, dude, I love their salsa. He loves it. I don't know. You guys got to go get yourself some Two Men in the Garden if you haven't already. It's local. It tastes amazing. They've got all the flavors to suit your salsa preferences. You can pick up their many products at local grocery stores, or you can go online if you're super particular about your salsa, and get, anything you want as far as, where the store might not have, the cantina style. Online, you find it there. twomeninthegarden.com. Follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete. We've got kind of I think I want to start doing, it's not weird, it's sports, where we throw something out there from the sports world just randomly and then just debate whether it's weird or sports.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I like it as a good lead in, as we hit the summer doldrums when news slows down a little bit, and there's a lot more a lot more time to sort of ponder the bigger issues.
I actually I saw a comment, speaking of weird. I think it's weird how college sports is moving, because I saw a comment on Reddit and it basically said that it said one of the big things that sports organizations, universities need to be better at is preparing young athletes for life after being one. It said, I went on to say, this is a worldwide thing. These kids have the structure and identity of being an athlete for pretty much their entire life. And then overnight it's gone and there's little you can do about it. And I think it's interesting that somebody is saying that when like in the midst of NIL and the revolution that is NIL, because for so long it's been about player empowerment and getting them what they're earning, what they deserve. And I think, to that person's credit, it's funny because I think that we're actually moving in the opposite direction. Not only do we need to be better, but by moving into that instant NIL, and again, this is going to come off as old man yelling at cloud here, but like as we move closer to NIL and almost eliminating the amateur aspect completely of college sports, I think we're moving away from the value of what was actually involved in, the scholarship, the connection to the alumni base, the brotherhood, like as Duke has said it. We talk about it here at St. Louis University. How often does a St. Louis University soccer alum not get ingratiated into the business world here in St. Louis? So I'm wondering, like, while we're pushing player empowerment, are we forgetting about the long term?
Yeah. So, there's a lot to unpack in there, but
Oh God, yes. When I talk, I go on. So
I think just to go on your last point, are we not thinking so much about the long term? I would say, yeah. I mean, a lot of NIL is very short term. Players choosing more money right now instead of career development, and like you're saying, not just career on the floor, but career after basketball. And I think back to my time at SLU. Again, it's been a while now. It's almost 20 years, which is crazy to think about. But the guys from that era, a lot of them did stick around St. Louis, no matter where they were from, whether it was the Midwest, one of the coasts. A lot of them did stick around St. Louis. And what happens is you have gotten to know over the course of 4 years a base of alums, boosters, donors, and you meet those people, you interact with them, you build up goodwill. No matter how your team does, no matter what you do on or off the floor, you have FaceTime with people who are well connected, who have some power within whatever their given industry is, and you've built up goodwill with them. And when it's time for you to enter the job world, you now have the benefit of the doubt. Your resume is on top of a stack of a lot of guys named Zach Miller and Peter Hale who will probably never get looked at because we're just one of many people in a stack. And when you go to 3 or 4 different schools, that's a lot harder to do. And you may have more money in your pocket today, but have you worked with a coach consistently enough to put yourself in a position to maybe play professionally in some context? And if not, what are your career options? What can you do anything than just go back to your high school and be an assistant coach and hope to catch on somewhere in some way like that, right? Like you really limit yourself, I think, if you're not building relationships, thinking long term at every step. And I do worry that in the opening years of NIL, that has kind of gone away a little bit. And I know, yeah, not to sound old man yellow cloud, I'm fine with players getting paid. I'm 100% fine with them doing promotions, advertising, all that kind of stuff, appearing in video games and getting a cut, all of that. I really want to make sure that people are thinking long term, and I don't think NIL agents, whoever they may be, are doing that, and I don't think they're serving their clients necessarily in the long term always, as they try and just get a cut of whatever NIL pay there is this year.
Yeah, it's again, I've I've been vocal in saying that. I mean, I get NIL. I never thought that paying players directly, like I never understood why the idea of a a system where you offer somebody a full ride scholarship, you give them, for the most part. Again, I think that it's really trash how, the field hockey doesn't have full, all these smaller sports, but like I've always said that the value in the scholarship and in that 4 years really does measure up to what you're offering the university. I do. I've said that. I think you deserve to make money off your name and all that. I just don't know. Again, I don't know how we get to paying players, how that serves student athletes in the future. Because I mean, yes, will always be kids who do use it the correct way. I just hope more. I hope that number doesn't diminish.
Yeah, you're right. And I think a lot of the hand wringing and certainly, well, a lot of what we're talking about right now mostly has to do with basketball and football, and specifically men's basketball for the most part. Even though athletes of all sports have been able to transfer now, and some of them will make good decisions and some of them not, that's fine. When you do look across the board at what our athletes are doing in some of the other sports, it does tend to be like, think about it like a Julia Martinez, right? Who just is going out into the world of physical therapy right now. A physical therapy from SLU, a degree from SLU is a big deal, and it's a lot of hard work, and she's going down that track, right? And there are a lot of examples, especially in our women's sports and in some of the other, men's sports that don't have top billing like basketball, where they enter college knowing full well 4 or 5 years from now, there's not a pro league waiting for me. No matter how this goes. Even the very best in women's basketball, it's really just a few of them who actually play in the WNBA, and other professional opportunities are just a lot more limited. Just to use one sport as an example. So I do still think, for the most part, college athletes are pretty focused on the long term, and they understand that they have to extract as much value as they can in both the short and long term. But yeah, I think from what we're talking about, I do think it's mostly football and basketball where I would, and I think we said it last week or the week before, where it's going to be really interesting to interview and read about and see like you said, the docu-series a few years from now, when this generation has worked their way through the system and what they think about having been part of the opening boom of NIL and what that's meant for them and their careers on and off the floor.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. I could go on and just repeat myself in just different ways of saying it. I could just say different words, but say the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to spare our audience
Bottom line
that.
is we're concerned. We're thinking about
I'm not yet concerned. I'm starting to think about
Yeah.
potentially being concerned.
Yeah. Right.
So
I hope they figure this out. You want everybody to be getting the best advice, and that's not the case.
yeah. Let's talk men's basketball. Why we're here, Pete. This is really I mean, this sounds amazing, right? When I read this news, it sounds like something you absolutely want the head coach of your men's basketball program to be involved in. I think my only question was, okay, so like what we're losing out on time with him? What's going on here? But Josh Schertz was named to the USA Basketball men's U18 national team training camp staff in Colorado Springs, Pete.
Yeah, that is a big deal, Zach. It's an honor. And the camp starts on May 23rd. So as you're listening to this, if you listen to this on the day it comes out, that's a few days away. That's this week. It's coming up. And yeah, it's kind of the time is like he's still got a couple roster spots to fill and everything. Like it's an interesting opportunity. I have no doubt, he's got a staff, they're working hard. This camp doesn't go 24 hours a day. He'll still be able to do his duties and everything. But this is an honor. There's 30 players invited, and the 12-member team will be announced before they depart for the FIBA U18 Men's AmeriCup, which is June 3rd and 9th in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So just a couple weeks away from now. Most of the players at this camp out of that 30 are class of 2025, but some are 2024 and some 2026. It's U18, so most 2024 are too old, some aren't. And then there are some guys who are just, maybe playing up a little bit or stretching a little bit who are younger. But the head coach of this is Tommy Lloyd from Arizona, and the like permanent, quote unquote, permanent assistants for this, Grant McCaslin from Texas Tech and Micah Shrewsbury from Notre Dame. So Schertz is one of four who will be assisting as court coaches during the opening phase of training camp, along with Justin Gray from Coastal Carolina, Ben McCullum from Drake, and John Shire from Duke. So this is like pretty big deal company. The names that he's with, both, the three main coaches and these other guys as well. It sounds like Schertz is just going to be doing the training camp and not going down to Argentina, but I don't exactly know how that all works. Regardless, he's got FaceTime with 30 of the best, under 18 prospects in the country, and with some other coaches there. And this is just, to me, this is like a big sign of respect to be invited to do this.
I think the most exciting thing for him has to be getting that sweet USA Basketball swag to wear around.
Oh man, yeah, he's going to be geared up now.
Ah,
What a power move to come back to campus, and now you've just got USA, like official
I love
Olympic
it.
USA team
I
issue.
love it.
I know that's right where your mind goes.
Yes, dude, right to the gear. I just want the gear, man. Like that's literally why I would have pursued professional sports. If I had the talent, that's the only reason, just for the cool shit.
Yeah, just a closet full of great gear.
Yes. So yeah, it's kind of funny because we're about to talk about the Josh Schertz basketball camp.
Yeah.
And I pictured the coaching list, and like Josh Schertz, Justin Gray, Ben McCullum, Josh, they're like the counselors.
Right.
That's just how I viewed it. I thought it was, I don't know, dumb view. But it is interesting. There's really no stopping the Ben McCullum, Josh Schertz. Like they're going to be inextricably linked.
Yes.
Like they're going to be like, like Ovechkin and Crosby, LeBron, Kobe. It's just not necessarily on those levels of like the greatest of all time. Well, I hope that would be amazing, but they're always going to be compared to each other.
Yeah, I mean, they're two coaches from the kind of the same place at the same time, right? I mean, so they're these D2 guys who really were system coaches, are system coaches who had a ton of success at that level and are finally really getting that national recognition. And I think it's awesome, Zach, because like guys who are like that, who really have just a really smart approach to the game and a lot of respect from their peers. Those haven't historically always been the guys to get out in front of these like national team players, right? Like a lot of, I feel like historically it was more a focus on just like who were the top college coaches, like the big names, the most successful. But now they're like, we're actually getting like our best and brightest out there. Not the most tenured, not the biggest names, not the most successful, but like here are the guys that you need to be learning from.
It's finally coming around where the world has caught up to USA basketball to the point where we have to
Yeah.
come up with some new ideas. We can't just
That's a factor too. Yeah, we can't just throw our 12 best players of this class out there and say play ball. I mean, we got away with that for years, right? And have won by far more golds than any other country at every level of this. But those other national teams, and this is true in smaller countries in soccer and things like that too, they have a program, they have a system, like they really play a style. I guess it was like 2015 when Iceland made kind of a run in soccer
yeah.
at the Euros,
Mhm.
and their coach was a dentist, and Iceland is a country.
Wait, hold on, Pete. The Iceland coach was a dentist. They call the dentist Wolf the dentist Stanson, Mighty Ducks 2.
Zach, I mean,
Ah,
I
oh my
I haven't seen that since I was a child. I don't know what you're asking a lot of me to remember that.
God. No.
It's too much, man. It's too much. Regardless,
Oh, sorry. I had to do it. You
it's a
guys know
country,
me.
it's a country with a population the size of the city of St. Louis, right? It's like 320,000 people in the whole country, and they make this run up against like the giants of European soccer. And it's because they have a national team program. So every youth club and like they kind of play to the style of the national team so that when they get to that level, they take their 22 best players, and these guys are completely on the same page with how they play, which is rare in other countries where they spend so much time with their clubs. They get together for a few weeks at a time and you just hope the talent wins out. So when the US goes up against other countries in basketball, a lot of those countries, your Lithuanias, your Argentinas, a lot of the countries that have gotten really good, it's because they just really are on the same page in terms of the system they run. So you do need coaches getting a lot more into the X's and O's with these guys and not just assuming that our off the charts talent is going to win every time. I mean, the NBA is more international than it's ever been. The world is catching up in this sport in a big way.
You talked about Iceland being the size of like St. Louis.
The population wise,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. I don't understand how European sports geography works. There's so many, there's so much going on in just like the smallest areas.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't get it.
it's
Okay.
true.
All right. Well, we'll move on to actual stuff people care about and not me rambling. The Josh Schertz basketball camp. We have youth camps back on the menu here at St. Louis University. I don't know how long it's been since the last one we had, but I know it's been a minute.
Yeah, it does seem like that. But session one is June 10th to 13th, and then session two is June 17th to 20th. Zach, one thing that I thought was interesting is in the graphic where Jordan Goodwin, Yuri Collins, and Terrence Hargrove. Does that mean they're going to be there?
That's an interesting one. I would say it would surprise me. It would be weird if they were. I would think yes, but like you never know. Like it's not a big deal that they would be there. Like that's totally a normal thing. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's very reasonable to assume all three would be home in June.
Correct. That's the point. It is that it would I would guess they would be there. That's where I would be if I were an alum to make a little bit of extra money.
Yeah, it's it's also like I don't think you want to put their names or their faces on the flyer, right? If they're not going to be there, right?
Right.
I'm like, think of a concert poster that has all these band names,
What
and then you
what
show
is
up and
the what is the like can you are you tied to that school forever? Like if let's say can they use anybody's picture on this advertise like any alumni? I'm just like I don't is there a legal issue? No. It's
no,
Slew owns the picture, I guess.
there's not a legal issue there. I mean, if they were just to use like three alums who weren't going to be there, like if they use like Larry Hughes
Okay, so
and
there's no issue with actually just using the players. False advertising that would be an issue.
I think that's the bigger problem. Yeah,
Okay.
if they use like Larry Hughes and Willie Reed and I don't know, Brian Conklin and all
Brandy
three of them, like, wait,
Glaze,
well, I'm not. Nobody ever called me. I'm not going to be there. you
Austin
know,
McBroom. They should put Austin McBroom on the flyer. That might get some random kids to just show up.
you never know.
It'd be
Yeah,
like one of those Jake Paul hydration drink releases. It's just mobs Chaffetz Arena.
I can't imagine McBroom would be a guy with Schertz this kind of guy. I don't know. I mean,
No. Well, he shoots a three. Okay.
he's a good shooter. He's a good
Yeah.
shooter.
I don't know. He's a little too me first, I think. I don't know what ever got me to think that though. Did you give everybody the website, by the way?
I did not.
Okay.
That would be at joshschertzbasketballcamps.com for more details.
Uh, did you watch this video,
I
Pete?
did. I did.
I love this YouTube channel. We talked about this YouTube channel. I don't know if I named the channel, but we had this discussion about this channel.
Yeah, why don't you name the channel, Zach? Because
Yeah.
I agree, this was great.
It's called The Film Room. It's on YouTube. It's very, very interesting. If you've never really gone down kind of the rabbit hole of understanding the game within the game, kind of in basketball, a little bit of the finer points, as you might say, if you're kind of hoity-toity. But yeah, so they break down just all the concepts: offensive, defensive, fast break, transition defense, everything really in basketball. And this specific video this week was who is Robbie Avila. This was the YouTube channel, like I said, that where I talked to you and I was like, dude, I learned about the 45 cut and it's my new favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, can you describe it, by the way?
Yeah, it's you cut kind of diagonally through the lane.
Yeah, and you're
From
coming
the
from kind of the elbow, right? Like you're
Yes.
coming out on the wing past the 3-point line, and it's like it's the 45-degree angle between the baseline and
That's why it's called a 40.
like
See,
the
these
top
are
of the
the
key.
things
You're coming from the wing.
these are the connections I don't make that
Well, I
I
mean,
need you in my life to make.
you wanted me to remember a obscure reference to Mighty Ducks 2, and I'm asking you to remember high school geometry. So maybe
So,
we're even. No, I don't even know if it's
I
high
didn't
school
play enough
geometry.
pool. All right. I didn't play enough
actually
billiards.
I've been going over angles in homework with my second grader. So anyway, Zach, not
I do love the triangle offense scene in Like Mike. The triangle offense scene in Like Mike's top
I don't know
notch.
that I actually have ever seen that movie, to be honest.
It's a fun little movie. Jesse Plemons is delightful as the bully.
I'll put it on my list.
But anyway, back to this channel though.
Yeah, this was really good. And this channel, if you bring it up, it's the Film Room on YouTube. Most of their videos tend to be in the kind of the 8 to 15 minute range. I think this one was about what, like 9 minutes long, something like that.
You got to get it over 10 to get that ad rev, baby.
Oh, is that what it is? So
I think it's around 10 minutes.
So he says that two things separate Avila from most players, and it's skill and IQ. Said he plays like Nikola Jokic, which, you got to love that comparison. But Zach, the first thing he highlighted was Avila's post game. And he pointed out a few things, like how he catches the ball on the high post and then drops to the baseline rather than going right to the basket, which I thought was pretty cool. And this angle lets him kind of see the floor for passing, and it also gives him room to curl back into the paint for kind of a short hook shot jumper. He said he's most dangerous when he has his back to the basket with a live dribble. And then he highlighted a play he calls the Barkley, which is, it's a common phrase, but when you get cut off, you spin dribble into a post up and then keep your dribble alive is the whole point. So that's true out to and even past the 3-point line. Barkley would do that and more or less just kind of back guys down all the way to the
Booty
basket.
ball.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
he was he was the best in basketball at that, and he says Avila's great at that too. But a couple other things really set him apart, and one is 3-point shooting. He's a great 3-point shooter. He's one of the best shot fakes in the country, which helps from three because he can put it on the floor, but he also uses it inside because he gets defenders in the air and either gets a clean look after that or draws fouls. Two other things: he's got vision, he's got passing. All of these tools make him really a special player, especially in this system. The last quote that he kind of gives in this that I used as kind of the pull quote here was, "You don't need to be super fast and athletic to make an impact in the game. Your skill and IQ can make you a great basketball player." Zach, I recommend this wholeheartedly. I'm glad you put this in the notes and brought this up. But if you guys are looking to get a breakdown of who this player is and what he can do, this is about as good a 10 minutes as you can spend to kind of figure that out, I think.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think beyond it being Robbie Avila, I think the production value, the explanations, just everything about it makes it so simple, and it just unlocks, I think, something that I think a lot of people may not put together. So go check out this guy's videos. Besides the Avila video, I loved the one I'll recommend is Learn the Gap Theory in 4 minutes. Basically, I think I talked about it, just illustrating how repetitive college basketball can be. You're watching basically teams attempting to do the same moves, whether it be a ball screen, get 2-on-1, attack closeout, stuff like that. It's super interesting. They've got video on Caitlin Clark, the Euro League. The guy loves the Euro League. So if you like the Euro League, you'll check. You'll enjoy a lot of his videos as well.
I like what you say there in terms of kind of making it simple, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's what works here is you look at like a coach's playbook and you see all of these plays, and to just a common fan, it's so intimidating. You think like, this is so complex, I'll never wrap my head around it. But if you break these things down into their component parts, you realize it's not anything that you can't comprehend, right? And it's just a matter of putting those things together, understanding those individual components, putting them together, and repetition. And I think over time, anyone can kind of figure it all out. But I think this channel is a great way of figuring that out, especially this video.
I don't want to belabor last year, but I would love to see a video breakdown of like, why didn't this work? Like, obviously we didn't have the talent, but also that team was, again, incomplete and not, they didn't have the pieces to run offense that they may have wanted to.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Who is Alex Peevler, Pete?
So
Not
Alex
Peevely, not Peevely.
right?
Peevler.
Yeah. So much for that promotional opportunity.
I know we really missed. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was the director of player development at Indiana State, and now his Instagram and Twitter bios both show the at St. Louis men's basketball handles. So we assume he's coming over. We don't know his role yet. But as West Pine Bills highlighted, this guy's handles change. He started out as a grad assistant in Schertz's first season at Indiana State. Before that, he coached in high school and in camps. He was a manager actually at Florida Gulf Coast. I think it would have been a little bit after their sort of Dunk City heyday when they went on that Sweet 16 run. But regardless, that's where he comes from. And we don't know if he's going to have the DPD role at SLU, something else. I don't know yet, but just keep a heads up. And once they do make that announcement official, we'll update there. But not a huge bio. He's a young guy, and yeah, I'm sure he'll have that kind of role here as well.
Pete, remind us a little bit who or what Schertz is still kind of targeting in not only the transfer portal, but maybe also high school recruiting for this season.
Yeah, and remember, he said that probably in these last, well, it was 3 at the time, but it applies to the last 2. He said not to expect more than 1 high school player. There are prospects to me where I think even if it were 2 in these last 2 spots, I'd be fine with it for the right players. But number 1, he's looking for a big man to back up Avila, and number 2, he's looking for a wild card who wouldn't necessarily have to make an impact this season, but someone who he sees as a long-term impactful player. And Zach, it seems like the big man to back up Avila is going to be the more elusive one of those 2, on his wish list, those 2 roles to get.
I gotta say, I'm shocked.
Yeah, we've said it before, but it's hard to find somebody to transfer to take backup minutes.
There was a discussion, I think, on in the Discord about Division II bigs versus guards. And I was of the opinion, whether it's right or wrong, whether I have any evidence to back it up or not, no. The answer is no. But in my amateur opinion, I like to see D2 bigs move up more than I like guards. I mean, besides the 3-point shooter.
Yeah, and I sort of go back and forth on this. We haven't seen a lot of D2 players jump up to SLU over the years. We really haven't. We've seen JUCO
Definitely not Trey Slayton.
transfers. Yeah, but he went the other direction. But we just haven't seen that kind of D2 to D1 jump. I've seen it before. Xavier not too long ago had a big man jump from I want to say Ferris State, a D2 program powerhouse in Michigan. And I've seen it elsewhere, but I would like to see kind of data on how many D2 players actually make the jump to D1, and then guards versus bigs, sort of, who's more of a contributor. I really don't know the answer there. I can tell you that with a big, I mean, like, size is the one thing you can't sort of.
This was this is my like sticking point.
Like 6'11" is 6'11", and bigs take time. I've always said it, but bigs take time. And if they get those sort of raw development years out of the way at a lower division, and all of a sudden their footwork is different and their body's different and things like that. Like, a lot of bigs coming out of high school are guys who just grew 7 inches in like 2 years,
They're the American goalie of basketball.
Yeah, so I could totally be convinced that's a good comparison, but I could totally be convinced that it's actually bigs, because that's just a little more translatable in just terms of their size, and you get sort of those early developmental phases out at D2. But in terms of guards, yeah, shooting is something that translates. I also think that at the guard position, D1 guards across the board are so much bigger, faster, stronger, quicker, more skilled. Like that's the guys you're going to be facing at a D2 level on guarding. So I think defensively, especially, is really where the guard position is more of a jump. Now, it's not to say that D2 bigs aren't going to get manhandled in the post sometimes. I mean, that's true.
And we're not talking about starter minutes here. We're talking specifically about kind of at any level. Like, I just think that whether or not you're a starter or not, I think, I don't know. Like, I'm saying that a backup big for Avila could come from a D2 easy. I think that translates just fine. I don't see an issue with that.
We certainly have to cast a wide net, for that position.
And I also think, and I think there's been talk about Schertz targeting D2, right? Because, and I think it's a great play. You've talked about it on many occasions. NIL budgeting and value plays when it comes to roster additions. You take a D2 guy, you give him a full scholarship. Holy shit! Now that guy's rolling in dough. Like, he's in a much better financial position, even before NIL. So if a guy, wants to come and be the 13th man for a full scholarship, I'm happy to offer him if he can bring depth to the table.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there is an NIL budget, and I don't know what we've got left in the war chest for these last 2 spots this year. I don't. I wouldn't even know what to guess, to be honest with you. But
$1 million.
you don't want to bid against yourself, right? I mean, you don't want to um, throw a big offer at somebody who really doesn't have a whole lot of interest. But at the same time, I think there is, if you find kind of an intriguing player, the right guy for your system, a good enough player, for backup minutes, you want to make sure you get him, right? Because that's just not an easily replaceable thing. The wild card spot, that's something where it can really be anything Schertz is open to, and you don't have to get hung up on on one position or one guy. But if there is the right player who comes along and you have a chance at, yeah, that backup position is a tricky one.
And I want to kind of jump around the notes because now I'm reminded with what we talked about at the outset of the show versus what we're kind of going on about here about finding a guy who finds value in taking the full scholarship to play as a 13th man. You look at a guy like one of the previous visitors here at SLU, Cameron Sheffield, who kind of did that in a different way, same but different.
Yeah, it's funny because we had said last week we don't know what the story is. Like, we heard he was going to visit SLU a few weeks ago. He's a grad transfer from Rice. He sat out all of this past season with an injury, but he graduated from Rice, which is a very good school, like a top 25 school or whatever. It's a strong academic school. And then all of a sudden we hear this week on Thursday he committed to Duke.
Mhm.
And you're like, wait, what? This guy went from like
He was getting like posts on Twitter by like JUCO advocate type Twitter accounts where like, hey, this guy's still in the portal, and you're
still
like,
available,
and I
still
texted
available.
you, and you kind of like were like, Zach, shut up. I texted you, what is wrong with this guy that he's now getting that you have to get reminder tweets that he's still in the portal, and you
Well,
corrected me here
and
rightly.
those tweets make you think like, oh wow, okay, so he's hurting for interest, and that means SLU's not
That's what
really
that
interested
yeah.
anymore, right? Yeah. But I think what's going on here, and somebody I can't remember who first made this comparison. It may have been in Discord or somewhere. But we kind of think this is similar to like a Kale catching situation. He's a St. Louis area kid, by the way. I think they all were from out in St. Charles. And a couple of them played D1. Anyway, he graduated from Harvard and took a grad transfer year at Duke and then just didn't really get minutes there, right? Like he got borderline walk-on minutes. But the point was he got a free grad year and he stacked degrees from two top 10 colleges. It's a really savvy move from someone who he gets to say, I graduated in 4 years with a degree from Harvard and played and was a good contributor on their basketball team. And then I played for Duke, the blue blood of blue blood programs. And oh, by the way, I have degrees from both schools. I mean, like, he can now go into the world and do whatever he wants, right? Like those, like when you've got a Harvard degree, a Duke grad degree, I mean, that guy, you played basketball, you played Duke basketball. He now has a network that you cannot put a price tag on. And if you could, it would be very, very high. So that's like just a really savvy move right there. And if you're Duke, again, NIL budgets are still NIL budgets, and theirs might be different than ours. But if that's a guy you can have as number 13, that's pretty cool. And I think that might be what's going on with Sheffield there. He, by the way, has 2 years of eligibility. So if he can play himself back into form, he could, within, reason, work his way into kind of the bottom of the rotation, because he was a good player at Rice, right? He wasn't a nobody. And there have been transfers from Rice before who have been very good players. I'm thinking of Drew Peterson from the Chicago area, went to Rice for a few years, then went out to USC, and he was a pretty big time player. So it's not completely unforeseeable that he could work his way into the rotation. But overall, I think that's what's going on here. Is it's more of a, here's a guy who has his eyes on the prize, Zach.
Let's talk about guys that we've heard about. There was one that I want to highlight because there was a lot of talk on the message board about this guy, in the Discord a little bit, and that's Dylan Warlick, who looks suspiciously like Mitch Hedberg.
So that's your comparison.
Yeah.
I actually put that in the bullet like points here. So like we didn't miss the fact that he does have quite a hair game
Yes.
going
He
on.
needs some rose-colored sunglasses to really complete the Mitch Hedberg look.
Parted in the middle, goes past the ears. It's not a hairstyle you typically see for a Division One basketball recruit. But regard like Zach said, I mean, we are highlighting this name because it seemed like there was a little smoke here. Like all of a sudden, there were a lot of Twitter and Instagram follows back and forth between him, slew accounts, parents, and normally when that happens, you're kind of like, okay, either a visit's being lined up, is he committing? What's going on here? But he decommitted from Wyoming after the coaching change, and he's able to enter the portal late because of that. He's a 6'6", 190-pound, I guess you'd call him a small forward from Edmond, Oklahoma. He went to Edmond North, which he led to back-to-back state titles. He was recruited by Indiana State in high school. He committed to Wyoming early, right? Like early fall of his senior year. So there's already some familiarity with Schertz, who recruited him before. Davidson, by the way, was another one of the schools that recruited him. They offered, and if their Twitter is any judge of this, they are aware that he is back on the market. So yeah, so there was a flurry of social media activity that made a lot of people kind of raise eyebrows and think there's something going on here. But we haven't gotten confirmation yet, so I don't know. As a player, he's kind of hard to pin down. I think I'd just say he's versatile, right? He handles the ball well, he scores, he rebounds, he's a hard worker, he passes. He's good with changing speeds and directions. He's got good vision, good teammate. He makes plays for them. He's just got a nose for the ball, a good feel for the game. And yeah, Zach, he's got cool hair. So of the two things that Schertz is still looking for at 6'6", 190, he's not a backup to Avila. He's obviously the wild card, but I do wonder how much interest there is here and whether we're going to get him on campus for a visit, especially now that Schertz is about to leave for USA minicamp.
You know what you said? You said something there. You said the word Wyoming. Do we want to talk about
Of
Jordan
course.
Jordan
Yeah.
Nesbitt?
Yeah.
Jordan Nesbitt's going to Wyoming to play for Sundance.
He sure is. And I told you, I was like, well, that's an interesting fit, right? I mean, it's not something I expected. Nesbitt originally said he was going to transfer from Hampton, where he played last season. I think he's played the last 2 years there, right? Do I have that right? I know. This will be his fourth school. But
Dude, trivia's out the window. Like there's no more college basketball trivia in this era until this gets normal, like this settles down.
Jordan Nesbitt, as a reminder, and I think most people listening probably remember him a little bit, was the one who he's from St. Louis originally. He went to Memphis for one semester, transferred to SLU, played here briefly, and then wound up transferring again to Hampton, I guess, to play a bigger role. And spent the last couple seasons there, and now it looks like he's going to Wyoming. I think he's just got one more year left, and that's where he's going to spend it. But yeah, it kind of surprised me. I didn't think he'd go out there. You know, Laramie is not a town that has a lot going on. Even for a college town, it's a little sleepy. So we'll see how
Maybe
he
that's good
does.
for him.
It could be yeah, it kind of is. I mean, maybe it's
Like
like
Cartier Gordon needed to go to like Wyoming. That's where he needed to go.
to just like isolate yourself,
Yes.
buckle down and
Yes.
play. Yeah, I know. There is something a little bit yeah, I guess
It's the
isolating
Chris
from that.
Herron
Right.
getting
Like I
going out to
just
Fresno and turning his everything around.
yeah. So anyway, interesting fit though.
Yeah.
There.
He's a good player when
He's talented.
when he
Yeah.
isn't antagonizing cheerleaders.
Yeah, hopefully Sundance is the right coach for him. Yeah, and this puts him pretty far away from St. Bonaventure cheerleaders.
Thank God. Um, for his sake.
Yes, for all of ours.
Let's talk about some of these other names that SLU has been kind of linked with.
Yeah, and these are really, like look, some of these we've maybe mentioned before, a couple of them. But a lot of these are just ones that we're in a stack of names, right? So we don't know how serious any of them are, but we know we've reached out to John Buggs, who's a guard from North Texas, Johnny Hunt, who's a guard from Cal State Northridge.
Oh, I thought that
Ethan,
was, I heard you say that and I wasn't paying attention. I thought it was like a Johnny, like
no, it's
J with a J. It is
yes.
not.
Yeah, it's the Italian spelling,
Okay.
like Gianni Infantino, the
Yes.
head of FIFA, spelled that way. The hopefully less corrupt than him though. Ethan Lathan, who I know we've mentioned before because of his name, which is just a really unique rhyming scheme there. He's a 6'11 center out of Compass Prep in Arizona. He originally signed with Old Dominion, got out of his letter, and he's still out there. And I think we've shown some interest. So again, like that's an example right there, Zach. He's a high school kid. If we were to get Dylan Warlick and him, for example, I would be fine with that as kind of a combination for those last two spots, even though they're both high school players.
And you've got Picard.
You
Picard.
do you do have Picard too, and McCautry,
Ugh. You
out
got
of high
guys.
school.
We got dudes.
We've got dudes. Another one is Spencer Maroney, who he's a 6'9" forward. He redshirted at Washington State this season. We know Slew's been in contact. I don't know what the status is there. It doesn't look right. Like right now, we're going to get him out for a visit. But we know we've reached out there, and that would again be for the Avila backup position. And then there's David Hermes. There's an accent mark over that second E, so I'm not sure, but he's a 6'10" forward out of Indian Hills Community College. Didn't put up big numbers there, but we're looking for a backup. He's got a big frame. There's something there. So anyway, those are guys we know we've reached out to right now.
We did talk about D2, and there were rumors of the D2 guard. I don't remember his name, but I think it was like he was shooting like 45% from three last season.
He's a big time shooter. I do remember his name, but I was unable to find anything linking.
Linking.
Yeah, so
That
I'll
was just West
refrain.
Pine Bills
Yeah,
spouting off.
it was a text, some sleuthing, but I will save our sourcing for now. But yeah, he would obviously be a wild card because he's really a shooting guard.
Uh what's it what you're annoyed with the way this recruitment, like the way everything's kind of moving.
Yeah,
It's got to be difficult right now to
this
follow.
and this is kind of a, I don't know that anyone really cares who doesn't actually have to work in basketball, but like right now is the AAU season is peaking, right? Like this weekend was a huge weekend, not the first, but like a really really big weekend of AAU events. And it's happening while there are plenty of players still in the portal and plenty of teams with open scholarships trying to get visits from those guys, right? So on one hand, you're really still recruiting the portal, but on the other, you've got to look at 2025, 6 and 7, and those guys are all playing AAU right now, this weekend. So it seems hard to manage both of those while both are kind of in full swing. Maybe the portal's died down, quite a bit, but teams aren't done yet. So I just like, I think it's one of those things where we used to be able to send a head coach and all of our assistants down to the Peach Jam, like all of the events that kind of are clustered together, right? Like think about sending, I know the Peach Jam's later, so maybe that's a bad example, but like right now, instead of sending all of them out to these events, you might have guys having to stay on campus for a portal visitor, or really working the phones with those guys. So I don't know. I just think it's tough at how thin coaches are being spread right now, and that's let alone the fact that Schertz has to go out to Colorado Springs this week for Team USA.
Are in-home visits still a thing?
I think they are. Yeah, I think they are.
Oh
I mean,
shit.
not in the portal, not so
No,
much,
no,
but
no,
yeah,
no, no, no.
yeah. You
I'm
just don't
just
have
like,
time.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine having time to fly out to, that's wild. I don't
I know.
know.
I know.
I guess you would pair it with like their high school game. You go watch them play and then visit. I don't know. The exciting. Well, I guess we knew this game was happening, but it's scheduling news because we got a date for it now. And this is a good one because it's going to be an easy road trip from St. Louis, Pete.
It is, and that's Sunday, December 15th is going to be the Illinois State game. Another hat tip to West Pine Bills for this one. Because like you said, we knew it was happening. We just didn't know the date. It is a very easy road trip from St. Louis, and Zach, it's a little over 4 hours from Cincinnati. And given that it's a Sunday game, it's kind of tempting because if that's like an early afternoon game, I could do a there and back pretty easily. So I'm tempted to go make the
Let's
trip.
do it. Let's
I know
do it.
we said
Wait, are you gonna
before,
do there and back? Or are you gonna enjoy all that is that normal Illinois has to
yeah.
offer in the
Well,
way of nightlife?
I would really take advantage of the whole Bloomington normal metroplex and
Absolutely.
everything
It's
that it
like
has.
they call that the little twin cities.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Central Illinois, uh, little twin cities, of course. But yeah, so I might do that. I was kind of looking at it like, oh, I wonder if I can make that work because I always go to St. Louis the week leading up to Christmas, but this year is a little bit different because the calendar is like put with Christmas is I think on a Wednesday, and
Okay.
normally like my kids are out of school the whole week before Christmas. And this year it kind of works out that they're off the week of Christmas and then the whole week after. So I might come to St. Louis the week after Christmas and not the week before this year, is what I'm saying. So I was hoping to pair this. Like I was like, oh, I could leave on Sunday instead of Monday, go to that game first, and then go down to St. Louis. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to make that work.
Is Wednesday the worst day for a worst weekday for like Christmas to fall on? It's gotta be, right? Because you have to go into work Friday
Yeah, I mean, working at
or
a
Christmas Eve, I guess. Maybe Christmas Eve when what would be the worst day? Yeah. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's not Billikens. Doesn't matter.
I agree. I think Wednesday is the worst day
Yeah.
still, but
Um,
whatever.
yeah. So Wednesday for Christmas Eve, Thursday's Christmas, then you got to go back into work Friday, then you got the weekend. Anyway, uh, Billikens, there was an interesting article, because I think secondary to my merchandise marketing, fixation, I think ticket sales and general market. This is marketing. Screw it. Second to merchandise, marketing is my second biggest nerd part of my Billiken fandom. There was an article this week about the surge in tickets and sponsor interest since hired Josh Schertz, to the surprise of neither of us, Pete.
No, not at all. I mean, we've talked about it all before. Like the every time there's a commitment, right?
Yeah.
They announce the signing, they send out an email to remind you to renew season tickets. Stu's article is ready to go, and he publishes that. It's on stltoday.com immediately. It's just like these things stack up. Like the Billiken Victory Fund will send out like a reminder. So they've really done a full blitz every time, and it's showing results, Zach. I mean, like read us through some of these things, like billboards. We talked about the billboards to put a name with the face for the casual fans, but
Yeah.
run us through the numbers of what this is doing.
Slew social media accounts surpassed 8 million impressions in the month after Shirts was introduced during a time of year when they typically draw under 1 million. I really don't know what the impressions when they go on about their social media. I really like they tout their social media, and I never understand where they're getting these numbers from because I really don't see Slew like their accounts doing much. You know what I mean? So I don't get it, but hey, you know what? 8 million like the difference between 8 million and 1 million is great. That's super, super impressive. 300 new season tickets had been sold as of the end of last week. The early projection is that SLU will sell 4 times as many new season tickets as last year, which should create a 25% increase in overall season ticket sales. Now, this is the interesting one for me. This how
I
can
thought your retort to this one initially was pretty funny.
yeah, okay. If you're selling 4 times as many new season tickets as last year,
New is the keyword.
yeah, how do you multiply 4 times a negative number?
Yes,
Because
I
were there
know.
people that started going last year? As
I guess there had to be some, but the funny thing is, on a net basis,
yes,
last year was a big negative, right?
yes,
So if just including the new ones is a pretty crafty you know
right.
workaround there, because I would be more interested in, well, how many of the ones who left are coming back? Those are That's the ones
Yours
I'm really
truly is
interested.
one of those people.
There you go. So we've got
And,
one.
and I doubled my season ticket number from 1 to 2. So that's
There you go.
that's a 200% increase
There you
from
go.
the tickets that I bought last year.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's that's an undefined because I had 0.
It
I
would be
don't
from the year before, 200% from the year before. Whatever.
I
But
don't do the maths, people.
well, and they didn't provide specific numbers, and I guess they don't have to, but
Classic slew.
I know. But they said we've also got people working on the connection with the student body, and we think we'll have a lot of opportunities to grow that interest. How did that quote strike you, Zach?
Uh, uh, it just sounds like we're gonna do this thing. Like we're gonna do the stuff that we should have been doing.
Yeah.
No. It's this is kind of the thing that I've been trying to temper my my level of happiness in what's going on with Billiken athletics, specifically Billiken basketball. In that, and again, the softball, adding the new wall, like we talked about it. But like these are all the things that you stopped doing. You can't, get I mean, why are you having to do this? Why are you having to, we've got people working on the connection with student body, and we think we'll have a lot of opportunity to grow that interest. No shit.
Right.
I,
Yeah,
I mean,
better late than never. I guess
yeah.
it's all momentum, but
I
yeah.
mean, again, like they're doing a great job right now, but it's the job that should have been that they should have been doing all along.
Yeah.
And
So the
I think what happens is you get into sorry, again, cutting off Pete because I like to hear the sound of my voice. Um, Basically, like you look at the last few years with how bad the games were, and you're begging the students to show up. You're putting merchandise in front of their face so they come into the games, and you're not building anything, right? You're just kind of oh my god, I can't. That's I thought of a funny phrase. I'll tell you later to refer to this. You're putting a band-aid over a bullet wound.
that's a Taylor Swift lyric,
Is it?
Zach.
No
Yes.
shit.
Yes.
I thought that was a Zach original.
I know there's a term for when two different people unrelated have the exact same idea, but yeah, you and Taylor Swift, you're both poets of the
Um,
highest order.
yes. I mean,
Reg-
everybody knew that.
But what I wanted to add to this, they had three more points, in the article Stu did. Number one is that player announcements have also helped, as we talked about
Yes.
earlier in this segment. SLU actually can't use them for marketing until they're enrolled, even though they
That's
can announce
interesting.
signing. Yeah, so like they can't put those guys on billboards and things like that until they're actually enrolled in school. So wait for a big bump come like mid late summer, like in
That's
August.
interesting because what is marketing at this point is my question. Because really, I think these signings, like what until they're enrolled, so has
So,
because
so, so I mean,
they put an email out there that said
I
like coming to Schertz, Robbie Avila.
I agree, but I think there must be a loophole where that is more of an announcement than an actual
Okay. I wonder.
advertisement.
Oh, hold on, I wonder because I'm gonna look it up now because I got the email. Uh no. Coming to Chaffetz Arena soon. There. Yeah. This it's a link for season ticket deposit.
I mean, is that marketing? As far as I'm concerned, yes, it is a form of marketing, but I guess it doesn't meet the NCAA definition of marketing.
Okay.
So I think that's the probably only
Are you
distinct.
telling me? Are you sitting there in the year of our Lord 2024 and telling me that an NCAA guideline and or rule does not make sense? How dare you?
Believe it or not, Zach, I know.
Stop gaslighting me.
Number two, Billiken Sports
I've lost it.
Properties expects to retain 95% or more of sponsors from last season. And apparently that's a higher number of annual retention
That's
than they
tough.
normally have.
It's tough to retain.
Yeah, yeah. So and then they added that at least 10 new companies have expressed interest. So good things are happening on that front as well. And you have to imagine if there's more interest, maybe those dollars go up a little bit as well if there's some competition for actual ads.
Pete, can I pontificate?
Go for it.
Awesome. I would love. I don't. We're talking about sponsorships here, and I know baseball is later on in the show, but for Christ's sake, can we get a sponsorship for the baseball and softball complex? It doesn't have to be a lot, but I watched the Dayton game. I watched Dayton play this weekend against Rhode Island. The ballpark has a name. It has a corporate name on it. It has logos on the outfield wall. Did nobody ever work in minor league baseball? Like, how do they get sponsorships?
Yeah.
There's money left on the table here, Pete.
Was that at Dayton, not at Rhode Island? Yeah. So Dayton's baseball stadium, you pass it as you're going. It's their basketball arena. It's like right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like at the edge of the parking lot. So it's surrounded by a parking lot on two sides. It's surrounded by I-75 down the third baseline. The first baseline and behind home plate would be the Great Miami River. It is not a scenic environment. It's not a nice setting. It's not exactly pastoral baseball like people want it to be. But you're right. There's still enough interest in actually putting a corporate name on there and sponsor and putting ads on the wall and stuff like that. And you got to think like St. Louis's setting, there's an arena over one wall. You see the arch over the other wall. It's a nice campus. Like you got to think there's sponsors who want to put their name on this thing.
How many people park in Olive Compton and walk through the Billiken Sports Center? You put a name over, like you put like how the entryways to the campus.
Yeah.
Put up one of those bastards.
Yeah.
Put the logo on it. Like, I don't get it. There's a million people that are going to that arena every year, whether it be basketball, Disney on Ice, Muppets Take Arena Tour. I don't know, but Billy Strings. I like put the companies don't want to have their name on the way in.
I know when you have a captive audience of people walking through it all the time. Yeah, I know.
You could have installed the lights.
That's how that.
You put one logo on the outfield wall, you install the lights. Are you shitting me?
I know, man. Well, hey, you still got to turn them on.
Hopefully they don't explode. They did. One did. All right. Well, I'm done pontificating. We have closed the loop officially on outgoing SLU players.
Well, not really. I mean, we still
you're right. We don't know. Okay. I'm sorry. I took your strike throughs as I took them wrong. That's my fault.
Yeah, those are we'll just skip over them and not even mention them this week, but we don't know where they're going yet. That includes
by the way,
former staffers.
Christian Nunez, speaking of former staffers, before I forget, did tweet out bittersweet with a peace emoji. Yes. Whatever the hell that means. So.
Well, bittersweet STL.
Oh yeah, bittersweet STL peace.
Yeah, right. He was saying like he's done in St. Louis, but we don't know where he's going, so that's why. Yeah. But the one news item we do have is that former walk-on Svet Sodorov has committed to Northern Illinois. He just did that on Sunday. I don't know if it's a scholarship or not. I hope it is for his sake. Hopefully Northern Illinois has some familiarity with him. He played his high school ball in Chicago, not too far from there, a couple hours down the road. So hopefully that's a good fit for him. And if it is a scholarship opportunity, he's one of those guys, former walk-on, isn't going to command a big NIL tag.
Right.
And if he can play his way up from there, that's just a great situation. So best to him. And hopefully this is the start of a good career.
And we both saw that little highlight video and we liked what we saw.
There's something there.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm who I am. I don't have any clout with what I say, but I liked his game.
Yeah.
Uh, you know whose game I do like too? You know who's got a lot of game, Pete?
Yeah, I think I know, Zach, that it's 2 Men in a Garden.
They have
And
they have they have uh they have a world's full of game.
they have salsa game, they have pickle game, and they also spread the
That makes
love
one of us.
because I think it was, I got to give Carter Chapley, former SLU, beat writer. I go, well, I guess not technically beat
Scoops,
writer.
Scoops
Scoops,
Rider.
sure. So he covered SLU for a while, and I got to give Carter credit because he did a dumb little tweet over the weekend about now that he's no longer in St. Louis, he can speak honestly about certain St. Louis things. And one of the first things he said was toasted ravioli absolutely lives up to the hype. And I have been craving toasted ravioli like hardcore since he said that. And I'm reminded that on 2 Men in a Garden and their friends products, they have Antonino's marinara sauce. And Antonino's on the Hill, place I really like, Greek/Italian, and it's good comfort food. It's a good place to take your family. I absolutely love that place. And their marinara sauce is fantastic. It is perfect for your toasted ravs, which have to come with a side of marinara sauce. They sell their 24-ounce size jar over there at twomeninthegarden.com. It's $6.99. It's a good buy. I got to tell you, the price on pasta sauce on grocery store shelves has gone way up. The 32-ounce jar of like the stuff that's made at a Antonino's kind of place, actually in Columbus, not Cincinnati, but it's the one that we always buy.
Shout
Um,
out
it's now
Schulte.
like $10. So this $6.99 for the 24 ounce is a good price, and you can get it shipped nationwide for $9.99. I don't know. Uh, whisper, whisper. I don't know if the code Julia still gets you free shipping, but it's worth a shot. But man, I am craving marinara and toasted ravs, and I think I'm gonna have to throw some of this in my next order from 2 Men in a Garden. And you should do the same. It's at twomeninthegarden.com. Check it out. Check out their stuff and look at their friends' products while you're there.
Fun fact, I won free toasted ravioli at a side of toasted ravioli with a pizza purchase at the Battlehawks game. I was in the Magic section today, so
You were spotted by one of our listeners who texted
I
me.
was.
They
Wait,
said, I don't know if I should
which
say
one? Was
this.
it not the one that I told you about?
Um, no, it was somebody different who
Because we
saw
just
you.
sat here because I just said someone like shouted me across an aisle, like, love the podcast. And I was like, that's awesome.
I don't know if it was him or not. He didn't say
Might have
whether he
been.
said anything. He just said you're there and that you were in a knee brace.
Oh yeah, oh my knee sleeve, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm walking around on the city streets thanks for to, you know, lack of MoDOT you know, I'm a little worried about planting wrong when I'm having a few drinks in me. You gotta protect.
You
You
don't
gotta
want to you
protect
don't want to hit a
yourself.
pothole.
Right. You don't want to step
That,
wrong off a curb and the knee goes sideways.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can't have
bust
that.
your whole suspension there.
The difference. Oh my God, that was an insane shot by Rudy Gobert. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
we're recording.
yeah, I know we are. I'm sorry. Let's talk a little women's ball. Ashley Connor's heading to LaSalle per a website that you have on many occasions cited.
Women's basketball blog, man. WBBB log, I guess it would be. They said she's going to LaSalle. I look there a couple times a week just to see like kind of if there's any news that's not getting reported. I have not been able to confirm this on any of her social media, any other social media. So I don't know if it's a mistake or if it's just kind of on the down low, but that's what they're saying. So I'll go ahead and report it because they've been right on stuff so far. So yeah, she's from Pittsburgh originally. It's the other side of the state, but a little bit closer to home.
Let's head to the diamond, actually. I think one of the coolest things, look, people will talk and we'll sit here and talk about the Chris May, um, the Chris May regime, so to speak, at St. Louis University. But there's one thing that, I think there's a person who's kind of divisive, not divisive. I think polarizing how you feel depending on when you were at SLU, what her position was. and that's Janet Oberly. I mean, she was compliance for forever, and nobody likes the compliance director. Like they're just on your ass. Like everybody, all my homies hate the compliance person. That goes for every school.
Sure.
But Janet Oberly is one of I think SLU's finest graduates in that she is out in the St. Louis community nonstop. All she is St. Louis. That is the one thing you can. She's a Billiken through and through. And one of the things she created, according to Hendrickson, is the baseball graduation.
Yeah, this is really cool. And I don't know if this is a thing that I had seen before and kind of forgotten, or if I just was never aware
I
of
think it was
it.
just always low key.
Yeah, so the official baseball, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, talked about baseball graduation and how they, because their season's still going on, they always miss their actual graduation ceremony. And so they tweeted out, "We celebrated our 16 graduates last weekend, so we can win an A10 title this weekend." Coach Hendrickson, like you said, he said it's one of the best inventions. Dr. Janet Oberly helped start it a while back, and it has grown into a great day for our seniors who miss actual graduation due to the season. So it's really cool, and I'm glad that they get their own thing. I know they didn't have John Hamm show up and give them a speech, but nonetheless, it's good to be recognized, and they deserve it. And I'm glad they throw something together for them, because it's unfortunate to be doing your duty as a baseball player while everybody else is getting their graduation.
And speaking of that, Atlantic 10 regular season championship, the Billikens, accomplished that goal. They won the A10 championship. They were picked to finish first, and sure as shit, Pete, like you said on Twitter, that's exactly what they did.
They delivered. As it turned out, they really only needed to win one game. The way the other games broke, because I think Dayton, VCU weren't too far behind. But yeah, they got it on Friday the 17th. It was game one. This was supposed to be played on Thursday, but it was rained out and rescheduled as a doubleheader on Friday. 8-3 was the win at UMass. SLU got out to a 4-0 lead that eventually became 8-1 before UMass got a couple back in the ninth. But it was a true team effort. There were 6 different players in the lineup who got 2 hits apiece. Patrick Closey was one of them. He was back in the lineup as the DH. He's been injured. Awesome to see his name back there. Easton Richter and Knox Preston had 2 RBIs each. Preston had SLU's only home run, which was a solo shot in the 8th. Hayden Moore and Ethan Sitzman each scored twice. And then Jackson Holmes got the win, his 9th of the season. I think he's 9-2 now. He went 5 innings, gave up 1 run, struck out 5. Really nice quality start for him. Owen Kelly pitched 3 perfect innings after that. And then Josh Cunningham pitched the 9th. He gave up those 2 runs, but they were unearned. So a really nice day on the mound for the Bills as well. But Zach, game 2 was a little bit rougher ride for the Bills, unfortunately.
Yeah, and to kind of put it in context, Dayton is playing Rhode Island at the same, during the same weekend. They did play Thursday at 1 p.m., losing that game 8-6. Something that I did not see coming, but what I learned, Pete, is that in that series against the Billikens, with Dayton, their starter, pitched Friday and then had to come in relief on Sunday against the Billikens and actually blew out his arm. So Dayton was not throwing their number one, I believe, at all this weekend. So really, the decision to go for it on Sunday in that 8-5 loss and losing really cost Dayton this weekend.
Yeah, that's a bummer. You feel sorry for that player, that it didn't break like that. But yeah, wow. I didn't realize it's exactly the context that happened. But anyway.
By the way, that second Dayton Rhode Island game got postponed in extra innings. I think it was tied or something. It's like tied 10-10 in like the 8th.
Yeah, I guess it's not surprising that the weather that hit St. Louis the day before, made its way that way. But the game 2 for SLU on Friday the 17th at UMass was a 6-0 loss. Not much to say here because SLU only had 4 hits. Cole Smith had 2 of them. It was a staff game. Charlie Weber started, took the loss. Ethan Bell, Jack Weber, Evan Gray, Will Bollinger were the next 4 pitchers, and only Weber made it through without giving up a run. So just a tough game. And Saturday the 18th was closer, Zach, but it was also kind of a tough outcome.
Yeah, again, kind of, resting the starters, keeping everybody fresh for the A10
Yeah.
tournament. I personally was a little bummed because I think that 40 win total is well within reach. And I would have liked to see them go for it maybe. I mean, obviously, to win the A10 tournament, they're gonna have to get to 40 wins anyway, but
Right.
I kind of wanted to see it a little bit closer. But that final game, 5-2 loss. The Billikens jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the top of the second after an RBI single from Stressler and an RBI double from Preston. UMass evened it up in the bottom of that inning, adding 2 more in the 4th and another in the 7th. Fogarty led off the 9th with a double, but was stranded after a strikeout and 2 pop flies, retired the next 3 batters to end the game. It was another staff game. Tommy Ray starting, going 2 innings. Henry Littman went the next 2. Dawson Smith went 2. Then Jackson Yarberry and Owen Chaffin pitched 1 apiece. Ray and Littman allowed 2 runs. Yarberry gave up the 5th. Again, not their best day all around, but they didn't walk a single minute man. Although Littman did hit 2 guys, which not great. By the way, the Billikens have been hit so many times this season.
It does feel like that.
Yeah. I mean, are we bringing out the tinfoil hat? Is it tinfoil hat time?
Most hated team in the league. I don't know.
Yeah. They finished the regular season with a 37-14 record, 16-8 record in conference play, including an Atlantic 10 regular season championship, in which gives them the top seed in the A10 championship, which will be Tuesday the 21st through Saturday the 25th at Capital One Park in Tysons, Virginia. Pete, you and I both know that that's not finishing on Saturday. They're playing till Sunday. There's weather. There's going to be some weather. By the way, this was supposed to be in St. Louis.
Yeah.
But they did not have the lights nor the press box to host the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. But
this is going to be that moment where if they don't win this tournament, you turn around and you look directly at the administration. I think. You could tell me I'm out of pocket, but
I know you will, Zach. I mean, like I know that'll be our angle, right?
I think that's it. I think that's kind of an angle that has to be.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, you can use that as kind of a motivational, for the players.
Yes, I mean, they've been playing with a chip on their shoulder all season, I think.
Sure.
Let's break down this tournament, Pete.
Yeah, so SLU's the 1 seed, and they'll play the winner of Richmond and George Washington in that 4-5 spot. Only the top 7 qualify out of the 12 teams in the A10 as kind of a reminder. And by the way, Zach, did you say this already, by the way, George Mason? They won the tournament last year because they had to beat SLU. They actually had to beat SLU twice in a row on the last day. And that's after losing to SLU, but they didn't even qualify this season for the tournament.
And they finished dead last
in the league. So they really came down to earth after winning that tournament. But SLU's the 1 seed.
You hate to see it. You really, it couldn't have happened to a nicer group of people.
It breaks your heart. So you've got Richmond, George Washington in the 4-5. And then on the other side of the bracket, VCU's the 2. They'll take on St. Joseph's, the 7 seed, the bottom seed, which means they're, middle of the pack team in the league. And then Dayton's the 3, who will have UMass in the number 5 spot. VCU and Dayton, that really came down to the wire between those 2. And I think each of them actually played a game less than SLU in conference play just because of, weather and everything. They just never got that makeup. And it is double elimination. So something to keep in mind as well. There's a whole other side of the bracket for the kind of the second chance bracket. So SLU will need to win a couple, like you said, to get through, but they're not completely out of it if they do lose. They're just in a better spot. And hopefully this year they can pull through without getting beat, twice on the last day.
Yeah, I think the only thing I generally worry about is, getting that bye And I think this is a dumb thing as a sports fan that I do, is I of course worry about the rust versus rest.
Yeah.
Baseball is such a kind of a not a rhythm game, but a streaky game. I don't know. I don't think Richmond or George Washington really scares me. And then at that point, you're put into what amounts to the semifinal. So
Right.
I think you're in a really good spot. I think there's no reason why we can't come away with a trip back to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And if you know, like, yeah, you're in the semifinal automatically with one win, and then you still have to lose twice, right? Like that,
Yeah.
that's the other thing is you win the first two games, now you're in the final, and you have to lose twice. So did that happen last year? Yes, it did, unfortunately.
Mm.
But um, you know, that they're just in a really good spot as the one seed here. And I think it's a pretty winnable tournament.
Yeah, I think you've got where you would throw the game one starter. You're now sending out your day two starter against VCU's third or Dayton's third. So again,
And
that bye really does help.
it's an extra day of rest for a team that's been really hurt too, right? And they're just getting guys back into the lineup. So just the one seed was very meaningful, like
Yes.
maybe more than ever this year.
Um, Pete, a little bit of track and field news. We have some Billikens head to the NCAA regional.
Yeah, we do. We got good and bad news this week in
Oh
track, but
yeah, that's true.
I'll start with the good news. So the NCAA West regional preliminary rounds, as we said last week, will be held the 22nd to 25th in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Four Billikens have qualified. Samantha Kunza in the hammer throw. She will throw on Thursday morning. Michaela McDowell in the 400, who will run on Thursday evening. Evan Brenderman in the triple jump on Friday evening. It's his second straight season qualifying in that event. And then Journey Amundsen, the triple jump on Saturday evening. But Zach, like I said, bittersweet. What's the bitter news?
Yeah, this is one that snuck by us. Usually we kind of get this news a little bit softened for us. We're not usually shocked when we hear it officially. Harrison Martinenko transferring to Drake. Our second favorite Australian runner
Yeah, that's right.
is now transferring
Yeah.
to Drake, which is that's a big name in track.
Yeah, we went up to the Drake relays a couple weeks ago, and I don't know, maybe he got lost in Des Moines and never came home, I guess.
It's like when the Cubans defect.
That's when the Australians see Central Iowa, you can't.
Yes,
It's hard to keep them down on the farm.
or the Delta or the Mississippi Delta.
That's right.
Um, let's talk a little women's soccer. We haven't checked in on Katie Shields women in a while. Why don't you tell me about this spring cup?
The Spring Cup is a pretty good event, Zach.
I like it.
It gives them some spring games to get some nice competition. And they did. We do have a. I'll just get the McHenry result out of the way first because that was kind of in the middle of it. But on April 6th, they played McHenry and won 8-0. Lindsay Hackle scored twice. Jordan Gary scored twice. Camille Walker, who's the Iowa transfer, scored. Addie Lang, Ellie Polachek, and then Riley Howard, who's the Wisconsin transfer, scored. So that was in the middle of this. But in the group stage, they tied Iowa on Saturday, March 23rd. They won in PKs, and then they beat Mizzou 2-0 on Thursday, the 4th of April. Lindsay Heckel scored in the first half, and then Addie Lang in the second. And then Zach, they for the Spring Cup Frontier Division Championship, because it's split into two divisions. On Saturday, April 13th, they played Northwestern at Grand Park Sports Complex in Westfield, Indiana, where I know they've played
That's where they
before.
played Xavier, right?
Yeah, they've played Xavier there.
Uh,
And they've played other games there. And I think have the men played there
I think
too. I
they
want to
have
say they
too.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Lucy
that might have been
Schwartz.
them who played Xavier.
Oh, right. Yeah. Lucy Schwartz had Slew's goal in regulation. But then they went to PKs and unfortunately lost this time 4-3 in the final. So pretty good event. They got a lot of quality opponents. Yeah, I don't know. You're right. I like the event a lot, and it's as good a competition as you can put together in the spring, I think.
Yeah, anytime you can kind of come up with some sort of competition to make non-competitive games interesting, it is good, I think. Whether
Yeah,
it's faux or not is doesn't
yeah,
matter.
and it also gives, it gives a chance to those transfers, right, to start playing right away. Like we talked about Camille Welker and Riley Howard. They actually got some run, before they actually come back on campus in the summer and start playing games in the fall. So they're building a little familiarity with their teammates already, which is pretty cool.
The Billikens, well, Katie Shields announced her 10-player incoming class for the fall of 2024. Back in late February. We just haven't gotten to really talk about it yet. So I will go ahead and run down um who they're bringing in. Starting off with Emily Fox, who's a forward out of Deerfield, Illinois. Shields calls her a prolific attacking player, relentless worker with a high level of skill. She was already her high school's all-time points leader before her senior year started. Nimu Karani of Overland Park, Kansas, who I believe is a goalkeeper. There's no K there, Pete. Come on now.
Well, she's a guard.
Oh yeah, she's a guard out of Overland Park, Kansas. Blue Valley Northwest, Kansas Rush Academy 0506. She was all state last year, and Shield said she's one of the best keepers in the class of 24. Great confidence, athleticism, and a love for the game. Hope Kim, a forward also out of Overland Park, Blue Valley Southwest this time. Sporting Blue Valley, first team All State as a sophomore and junior. Shields called her athletic, powerful, and dynamic as a goal scorer and creator. Another Blue Valley Southwesterner, Addie Lang, midfielder out of Overland Park, Kansas City Athletics. Graduated early and already enrolled in SLU.
Yeah,
Started,
and I already mentioned her name. She scored a goal.
yes.
Yeah,
Started. We haven't even covered her enrollment, and she's already scored a goal.
right.
She started training with the team in January. Shields says she's a high IQ player who's clean technically and beyond her years tactically. Pete, I don't, okay.
She's smarter than us, Zach. We just have to
Yeah.
accept it.
No, I can't get this next name. Speaking of not smart, is it Cajun?
I would say Kagan.
Kagan. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Kagan
it
Leonard.
looks Irish to me, but
Yes.
I'm not
No,
Irish
I
enough
think you
to
got
know.
it. I think you nailed it. Forward defender, Cornwall, New York, Cornwall Central, Quick Strike FC. I don't know if we've had a lot of New Yorkers on our rosters for soccer.
No, not
Except
maybe.
not on women's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where's Simon Betcher from? He was up Connecticut
Well, you
or
also had the Bonaventure transfer,
yeah, that's right.
but
Yeah.
and then you had one way back in the day, but he was a Bonaventure transfer, but he was from Canada, so that doesn't count.
Hmm.
All State is a senior. She will also run track for SLU. First time SLU has had a dual soccer track athlete. Remember, we tried to do that with TJ Hargrove, except
Yeah.
with basketball and track. And yeah.
Yeah.
Shield said she's a hardworking and competitive, in addition to being fast and athletic and a dynamic wide player. I assumed with the defender forward, she was a wing. Ashley Miller, not related to me, out of O'Fallon, Missouri, midfielder for Zumwalt South, JB Marine. Three-time state champion already. She led the St. Louis metro area in assists as a sophomore and junior. Shield said she makes everyone else around her look better with her ability to combine and solve pressure in the midfield. Isa Moreno, defender, midfielder out of Johns Creek, Georgia. Greater Atlanta Christian School, top hat. Shield said her club is one of the best programs in the country, and that Moreno is creative on the ball and tactically aware, making her a threat anywhere on the field. Sarah Sarnowski. I had to see if that was an R and an N or an M. I had to zoom in. Out of Barrington, Illinois. She went to Barrington High School. GLSA, she played for a club with a long
The
name.
club team has just some of these club team names
They're
are just
ridiculous.
incredible. Yeah.
What did I see? The prep school that was like Terror Prep. It was a basketball prep school. Terror Prep. Like, what
Yeah.
are we doing?
You're not going to have good academics with a name like
Anyway,
that.
All-State as a junior, led her team to state runner-up finishes as a sophomore and junior. Shields called her a speedy and dynamic left-footed finisher. I thought that was gonna say greedy and dynamic. I was like, yeah, that's the kind of attacking player I want. I want Zlatan up there.
Yeah.
Ola Sharp, a defender out of Edwardsville, Illinois, Edwardsville High School, St. Louis Development Academy, ranked a top 10 player in the region by TDS. Shields calls her an elite competitor and a tough defender who will thrive in this program's culture. And last but not least, Audrey Smith, a forward out of St. Peters, Missouri, another Fort Zumwalt South player. St. Louis Scott Gallagher led Fort Zumwalt South to 3 state titles, named Missouri Class 3 Player of the Year, scored a record 41 goals, in her junior year, breaking the record she set as a sophomore. Her club team won the ECNL national championship twice. Shields said she's a dynamic and efficient goal scorer, a serial winner, which seems better than a serial killer.
I would say I like that description. Yeah. Serial winner. I like that a lot. And Zach, the important thing to keep in mind is all of these stats, these, quotes, all of the stuff is coming before they play their senior year because they're spring. They play their senior. Yeah, they play in the spring.
They play spring soccer.
Right. So it's, a lot of them, their biggest accolades are yet to come, but this is a really impressive group, I think. And once again, I mean, she's just sustaining a very high level program. We know they're going to be good again this year because of who's returning, but to have, this level of incoming class is pretty significant.
One last note will be swimming and diving, Pete. This is an interesting one. Where'd you find this at?
SLU's official website, Zach. It came up a few days ago. And went.
Oh.
But every year there's what's called the A10 postgraduate scholarship, where the league gives a $5,000 scholarship to a graduating athlete from each school, and they can use it toward graduate or professional programs. And the winner for SLU was Carly McKeon of the swimming and diving team. She's an accounting major who's going to do a 5th year at SLU to get her Master of Accountancy before sitting for the CPA exam. A lot of friends of mine did this. That 5th year master, then sit for the CPA. So I kind of know the drill. She did an internship at PwC last summer and wants to focus her career on IT auditing. So congrats to her.
Above
really
my
cool. Above your head. Good for her, and glad that her post-grad year is going to be at SLU as well. So pretty cool.
Well, that's gonna do it. This had some meat on the bone, Pete. This was a good one.
Yeah, it did a little more than you would have thought necessarily.
We got a lot of talk. Like, I like when I say this every time, but every time we get in this, I want to discuss more and just have like a conversation. And I think sometimes we get into the bullet points and kind of get a little robotic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to everyone who listened. Thank you to anyone who has like literally either stopped you or I in the last 5 days, because it's been a weird number of people.
Yeah, and shout out to Brett Basler. I met who's a listener. Met him and his wife at
which is a bizarre.
I just walked in, somebody saw my St. Louis hat and gave me a little shout, and I turned and saw he was in a City Red jersey. Because St. Louis City was in town playing FC Cincinnati last night as we record, and I was there with my whole family at the game, and
I forgot was happening.
After a brief introduction, he introduced himself as Brett Basler, and then I was like, we kind of made the connection, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that was you." And so anyway, it was pretty cool. It was nice to meet them. Congrats to both of them. They've got a baby on the way, which means they're probably not going to make as many away games for STL City in the near future, but really cool to meet him. And I know he's got a family of SLU fans.
Yes.
Big time SLU fans. So shout out to the Basler family. Hope they're all doing well.
That's gonna do it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Go Bills.
Go Bills, and congrats to the class of 2024. Make us
That's
proud.
right. That's right. Sons and daughters of SLU forever.